Okay, let's go over some of these allegations and things in John Bolton's book. I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this. Let's just dive right into it because it really touches on all aspects. You got Trump's incompetence, you got his depravity, you have his seems to be undying love for Russia. You got it all in what John Bolton is saying in this book he has. Now, I will say Bolton is a scumbag, okay, for what he did in the past with the Iraq War. And even currently in this situation, he had the opportunity to come out publicly and say these things. He could have said it during the impeachment trial. He could have said it any time before that or after or shortly after the impeachment trial. And he did none of that. So that tells me that he's really not about helping the country. He's really not about defending the country, even though he was national security advisor, which is awful. It shows me that he's probably looking to kind of defend the Republican Party, because if he would have came out with all this stuff before the impeachment or right or along the impeachment, and then the Republican senators would have had to tie their name to the things that he's saying in this book by not voting to impeach Trump. And that could have had terrible ramifications for a lot of the Republican senators on, re-election. So that's my thinking as to why he didn't come out with this sooner and publicly, and the fact that, there's obviously added incentive to put it in a book and book sales and all that. But let's just go to some of these. Okay, so this is the first one that's just pure depravity. This is just horrendous. Trump had no problem with China's concentration camps. So apparently, President Xi, I believe is pronounced, was basically telling Trump about the concentration camps of the Uyghur Muslims, and Trump said that they should go ahead with building the camps, which Trump thought was exactly the right thing to do. This is bonkers. The U.S. president signing off on concentration camps. This is just a new level of low. And it's not even almost, it is completely irresponsible that if this stuff was known to Bolton and he heard this stuff and he knows for a fact that it's true, that he didn't come out with this sooner. I'm just going to touch on the ones that I think are the most important or funny. Here's a good one. Trump offered to help Turkey's leader. He offered to help Erdogan avoid a Justice Department probe. This is insane. Trump told Erdogan he would take care of things and explained to the Southern District prosecutors were not his people but were Obama's people. This is crazy. The level of corruption here in helping a foreign adversary is just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Trump, of course, he didn't like sanctions on Russia. His undying, everlasting love for all things Putin and Russia shows again. Wonder why. Trump apparently didn't know Finland wasn't part of Russia. He thought like it was just I don't even know, like the level of incompetence it takes to think this when you're president of the United States is just astounding. How does this I don't even know how that comes to be. Could you imagine the people in the room, their face, and what was going on in their mind when he said this? Oh my God. This is another back to the depravity and the disgusting, vile nature of Trump. He thought that basically told that Venezuela is really part of the United States. I'm not sure why you would even say that. It doesn't make in the slightest, it's just completely nonsensical. But whatever you think of Maduro, and I think he's just a terrible, awful person, we shouldn't be invading Venezuela. Okay, and the fact that the President of the United States brought this up is again, just grounds for the 25th Amendment. Another one that's extremely frightening, and another show of Donald Trump's authoritarian tendencies and how he longs to be a dictator, just like Maduro and just like Erdogan and just like Putin. Here we go. He thought that they should arrest reporters and force them to serve jail time and then demand they disclose their sources. Basically, if they're saying things that Trump doesn't like, even though it's factual. I mean, so there you have it, right? I mean, this is just pure insanity. And again, no matter what you think of Bolton, people can be scumbags and tell the truth. And we have good reason to believe that he's telling the truth, because everything that he's stating in these things I went over so far are just par for the course for Trump. They're things we've seen him do publicly, things we've seen him say. They fit his personality. They fit his bill. They line up with everything else we've heard from other people who worked close to him through the years say. So we have very strong reason to believe that these things are accurate. And if they are accurate, that also, again, brings me back to the point where the fact that Bolton didn't bring this up long ago is completely irresponsible. Completely irresponsible. And it's disgusting in its own right. But again, it's insane to me that these things were being said and thought about by the president, and he's still president. The fact that the man wanted to invade Venezuela, didn't know Finland, he thought it was part of Russia, then wants to jail journalists and make them disclose their sources when he has no idea how journalism works and why certain sources are held anonymous. And they're not. People think like just because the public doesn't know about the source, that for some reason the journalist doesn't know who the source is. Of course they know who the source is, and they know whether or not it's credible or not, whether or not they should be listening to it. And there's a reason that they're not disclosing these sources. And then you throw on top of all that the fact that he thought and signed off on concentration camps for Muslims in China. This is the guy that's so tough on China. He's so tough on trade. And then he goes and tells the president of China that, yeah, he's cool with opening and running concentration camps. What on God's green earth is going on in this country that we voted this guy in? We can't get him out. And there are still roughly about 40 to 45% of the country who are going to vote for him again. My God.